Hi there, and welcome back to AP World History here at Educator.com. So glad you could join us. We're still in the last parts of Period 6, which is 1900 to the present. And in this session, we're going to be talking about new conceptualizations, ideas of society, how society should be, and culture, and that how these get spread by new technologies. All right. Human rights is not something old. Human rights is something new, if we look at world history. So where does it come from? Human rights. Where does it come from? You remember maybe when it first appears on our horizon? Perhaps in the French Revolution? Or the American Revolution? And where did they get their ideas? I hope you got the Enlightenment is such a big influence on Western history. Just a huge influence. And out of that came the idea that people have rights. So, sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I have the right to my life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, not to be thrown in jail for no good reason, etc. Why would anybody be in opposition to human rights? Is it because you don't want to be human? You don't want to be that kind of humanity. You want the freedom to do terrible things. Is that it? So I'm asking this question. To what degree might national leaders agree to sign on to universal human rights, but not carry them out in practice? They're going to get something, right? They're going to get something for signing on to them. Maybe trade agreements, maybe loans, maybe weapons. But down in their heart of hearts, they have they don't have any plans to actually carry out human rights in their area of influence. So we can ask people and almost demand people sign on to human rights, but that doesn't make it happen. Okay, is the reason that the concept is a Western idea and it just doesn't fit many situations that are outside of the West? Are human rights a conception coming out of the Enlightenment, and people who didn't go through the Enlightenment and don't want to go through the Enlightenment just say, well, that does not fit the way we want to do things, and it doesn't make sense to us to live life like that. I think to a large degree we're going to say that that's true. It is a Western concept. And it is a concept that we think is just as clear and easy to understand and should be fulfilled, and other people don't see it that way. So let's take another look here. Why did this emphasis on human rights come be so much larger after World War II? You know, it goes back to, 1789 with the French Revolution. Why after World War II is this thing really emphasized? Well, the Holocaust could have something to do with that. We saw something that violated human rights completely, and it was abhorrent to most people. And so what are we going to do about that? How do we keep that from happening again? There are war crimes that made people say, wow, this kind of thing shouldn't happen. Then I think people became a little more sensitive. Sensitive to violation of rights and the problems people face in being mistreated. So what's the solution? We see people being regularly tortured for information, or put down and not allowed to thrive. And we say, this is wrong. What's a solution? How can we right this ship? Well, some people say the answer is human rights. If we would just say, these are human rights and people need to sign on to it, and we'll bully them. Well, that's not a good term, to bully people, but we're going to put pressure on people. Come on, sign this human rights declaration, or do something about your human rights violations. This is a big issue between the United States and China. Oh, we love your goods, and this, and but you know what? Human rights got to be fixed. And they say, that's none of your business. So, after World War II, we have the publication of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. And it's a part of the United Nations that people would sign on to Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And illustrate my point, here's the preamble, part of the preamble. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Sounds, freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Then we gotta say what they are and encourage them and make people say this is something we're all going to work towards. But this inalienable kind of should stick with you a little bit and say, where did I hear that before? Maybe in the Declaration of Independence, 1776. Okay, so you see how this is all tied back to that. And the first article is, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. That's 1789, the Declaration of the Rights of Man, almost a direct quote. So we're obviously pointing back towards that period and saying, that's a good idea. Let's push this forward. But let's take a little